All right, let's get started because I'm not gonna go very long.
That's what she said.
God damn it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 72. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and this week I'm joined by special guest Andrew Derry, who you may recognize as the host of our new spin-off show, Classic Corner.
Hello.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
What'd you do with Saturn?
He's in space.
His dream came true. He's finally in space. Saturn is not here. He had a family emergency, so he's off dealing with some not so fun stuff. So our thoughts are with him tonight. I'm also alone in the studio for our video viewers. They get to see me sit here alone and talk into a microphone. I'm sure it's riveting for you. It's probably great. So that said, last night I was also incredibly sick and sick all through today. So between that and Saturn not being here, we virtually have nothing prepared.
So you know what you should do now? Now that you have some Patreon money, you should make a life-size cardboard cutout of me. So that way when I'm on the show, you can just put the cutout in the studio in front of the mic.
It'll be, I could put you like standing over me from behind.
Right, yeah, with a knife.
That'd be better. So I considered not doing a show this week, but I figured I could at least come on here and give you guys 15 or 20 minutes of just various grab bag topics, which I don't think we've done a grab bag episode since my daughter was born. I think was the last time that we were just so worn out that we just talked about whatever.
So it's like a year tradition.
Yeah, it's a yearly thing. Is something happens and we can't do a real show.
Yeah, in November.
We should just do what TV shows did in the 90s and just do a clip show. It'd be fun, right?
It's a lot of work for you.
Nice clips. Yeah, that seems like a lot more work than to just suck it up and talk for 20 minutes and not throw up the whole time.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say we should do what TV shows used to do in the 90s and just put a rerun on there.
Yeah, we'll just rerun last week's episode. It'll be perfect.
I was thinking, more like in the first 10 episodes of the show rerun, but
right.
that works too.
Because they're not easily available in the feed that people are listening to this show in, so that's,
Right.
So I didn't really have anything specific, and like I said, this is going to be a short show, unless people want to watch me throw up on a podcast.
I do. I'll pledge $10 for that.
You'll give me $10 if I throw up on the show?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you $20 if you throw up on the show.
That's actually the $50 tier, is Justin throws up on the show every week.
Every week? I was just saying this week. I'll give you half. I'll give you $25 to just do it 1 week.
Oh, is that? Well, I mean, we do it's more like a patron kind of thing. That's not really the model we're after, but
this is a private donation.
Money's money. All right. I guess so. Here goes. Anyway, like I said, I didn't have anything specific. I figured I'd just talk about the things I've been playing, and you can do the same, and then we can just be done and let me go be sick for the rest of the evening. So that'll be nice.
No.
So I didn't have a lot, so I'll go first because I know, Andrew, you're probably going to talk about some NES stuff. I've been playing Dragon Quest Builders, which Saturn lent to me, and that game is really, really good. I should have bought that instead of Dragon Quest 7.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, Dragon Quest 7 is not a bad game, but it's like a hardcore 100-hour crunchy, grindy RPG.
Right.
And then Dragon Quest Builders is like a fun, goofy, lighthearted, kind of open world-ish adventure thing.
Is there multiplayer for that?
Not that I'm aware of. I can't imagine how there would be. But no, I don't think there's multiplayer of any kind.
So no, like Minecraft multiplayer for Builders?
No. It's also I say it's open worldy. It's open world in that you can go explore whenever you want and run around, but it is a very linear game, at least as far as I am. I'm still in the first quarter of the game. I believe there's 4 chapters. But it's it's relatively linear. Like they tell you, okay, now go get this thing, now go get this thing, now build this. You know what you're doing the whole time, but it's also open in that you can just go run around and explore the world as much as you want.
Right.
But I've been thoroughly enjoying it. Saturn talked on the show previously about how there's some nods and allusions to earlier Dragon Quest games and a lot of fan service there. And even someone like me who's not a huge Dragon Quest fan, I still notice a lot of those things. And it's really cool that they included that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm also playing the Vita version, which I'm sure, which we also mentioned on the show, Saturn's probably one of the only 2 people in America that bought the Vita version of Builders.
He's actually both the 2 people. He bought 2 copies.
He has bought the game like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Because he bought it in the Japanese version, and then he bought it on Vita, he bought it on PS4, and I know he got a digital copy as well, so I know he has at least 4 copies. Other than that, I have been playing some PS1. For Thanksgiving, I set up a PlayStation 1 in my garage, and now that's just what I do. I sit in the garage and play PlayStation for no discernible reason because I have a PlayStation in my office.
Okay. You just sit in the garage so you can be cold and sick, and you're okay. You can throw up on the floor. You just gotta hose it down afterwards.
I call it a dadtivity.
Yeah,
it's my new classification of things that I do is dadtivities, like mowing the lawn or sitting in the garage, which is stuff that I never understood before I was a dad. But now I'm like, oh man, if I mow the lawn, I don't have to take care of a kid for like 30 minutes. Oh, if I go sit in what?
I was just gonna say, I imagine a dadtivity is like a nativity scene, but made by a dad, so it's all like alcohol bottles.
Yeah, like a big 40-ounce Miller High Life instead of a baby Jesus. And
I was saying like those little tiny sample liquor bottles is the baby Jesus, and you have like the daddy mommy liquor bottles above it.
There's no way that's not already a picture on the internet, and I'm gonna find it. Okay. It'll be our art for this week's show.
All right. If it isn't, you gotta go buy all that stuff, and make it.
I have no choice. I'll have to go to a tiny distillery, get some tiny bottles of liquor.
You could buy them at any liquor store. Tiny
distillery is my only option.
Okay, put it outside your house so people can see your nativity scene.
Right. And Robbie came over and he brought his stack of PlayStation games. So I've been playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3,
nice.
Which is
that was on PS1.
Yeah.
Was
it was. Yep. I know it was because I have it in my house right now.
I could have sworn that was PS2. Maybe that was.
It was also on PS2.
Oh, it was? Okay, that's what I had it for.
But it's funny because like talking to people like Saturn who were just a little bit too old for the whole like skateboarding thing, whenever it kind of had a comeback, whenever we were younger. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is the thing that like I feel like everyone our age that played video games played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, I was super into it. For some reason, like I played the first one and then my parents wouldn't buy me the second one, but then they bought me the third and fourth one.
See, I had the first and second and then the fourth, but I never had the third. So this is my first time playing the third one.
Okay.
But it was just strange because it's like everyone our age is like, oh yeah, and people like at Thanksgiving, people would just come over and like Robert was there, and I just sat down, had never played the game, and started playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and then Robert too, and I was like, we all know how to play the game. It's just this understood.
Right.
It really was a cultural phenomenon for a little while there. It was a big deal.
Until we got to the Tony Hawk game that had the actual board.
Oh yeah, Ride. No, it was dead long before then. Before. I mean,
didn't Ride sell like 1 or 2,000 copies total?
I don't remember the number, but it was a number so low that it was like, is this a joke? Like, what's going on here? Like, it was pitifully low. Well, the problem with Tony Hawk games is what the formula that worked was include a bunch of good music, include your standard array of pro skaters, give us a bunch of levels and unlockables, and then give us some weird, goofy licensed characters that you can unlock.
And make the game completely unreal.
Yeah, and they were doing that, but then they kept wanting to like expand and go bigger and better, and I was like, honestly, this is one of those franchises that literally can just be the same thing, but with a little with different stuff each year. Like everyone is okay with that.
Like maybe a couple new skaters, some new licensed characters.
Yeah, I mean,
new music.
you could go full on Madden with this thing and make 30 of them that every year or even every 2 years, whatever, is just basically the same game with some new stuff. Like everyone was okay with that. Nobody was like, oh, this formula's gotten stale.
See, they missed like the opportunities of like skateboarding on the moon or inside a volcano or like.
Yeah, really goofy shit. Now, I don't know how you played Tony Hawk, but for me, it was always a cathartic experience. You know, it was this thing where it was almost like Tetris. Like, I don't care if you have a new L block design or whatever. I just want to play Tetris, and you can dress it up around the core game all you want, but as long as that core game is still there, I'm happy. And Tony Hawk was always that thing for me, which is why they never needed to change that core gameplay. It was fine. It was fine as it is. But they started getting weird, and they did Underground, which Underground was good, and then they did American Skateland, I think it was called.
I think I might have played Underground. I didn't play American Skateland.
They just I don't know. They started getting too.
I feel like the Need for Speed franchise has also done that.
Yeah, where it got to the point where you're like, guys, just give us some races and do the Hot Pursuit thing and throw some cops in.
Right, like Hot Pursuit was amazing, and then Underground was really good, and then they started trying to add too much. Because I bought 2 of the latest Need for Speeds and played them for like 15 minutes and was like, well, this is terrible. Because they,
you know what? Underground was the first time I ever really played and put actual hours into a racing game.
Yeah.
Ever before and ever since then, Underground in my whole life has been the one game that I really was like, I'm gonna put some real time into this game.
I did that too. I actually played it on PC with just a USB controller on a very bad PC. So like whenever you would get up to like
E-Machine T111.
Yeah. Whenever you get up to high speeds, it would just lag, which actually helped out a lot with dodging the cops. Right. Because it was going so slow that I could just move.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Underground is where Need for Speed kind of stopped for me, and that's when they basically after that there may have been 1 or 2 other games, one of them for the GameCube that was pretty bad, but I think that was Underground 2.
Yeah, they made 2 or 3 Underground games.
Yeah, they were never as good as the first one, as far as I remember. But then they just started doing the whole, when the PS4 launched, they had a racing game that was just all online multiplayer. I think it was called Drive, no?
I think it was called Drive Club?
It was Drive Club.
Yeah.
And it was just basically you on an island and you race against a bunch of other people who are also on the island. And Need for Speed kind of did the same thing. So there were still some story missions, but in order to actually do anything, you had to basically play these multiplayer games. And I just liked racing the computers because the computers were never really super great. But then once I get in a race with a bunch of like people who do this every single day, I'm like, well, this is terrible. Like
the classic online problem, which is I don't dedicate my life to this, so I can't play it online.
Right. So they didn't separate. And you always, like, you're just driving and you run past a little coin that's like flipping in the middle of the road, and it's like, join this race where 4 other people are gonna kill you. Like,
really, they should have worked on the verbiage there to begin with.
Right, you're gonna get raped. But that's just why I never really liked those. Hot Pursuit for PS1 is still one of the greatest racing games that I remember ever playing.
You know, I've never really put much time to that. I keep meaning to go back and check it out and see what all the hubbub is.
It was just fun because it was really just the police chases.
Right. Like I remember playing it when it came out, but I was like, oh, that's fun, and then moved on. You know, it was a weekend rental for me.
Right. Well, I think the thing that was fun about that is that the police were never super smart in that game. So you could do the thing where you would drive towards oncoming traffic and move real quick, and the police wouldn't move fast enough, so they would just ram right into the oncoming traffic. Right.
I also played Twisted Metal 2, which I was never a big Twisted Metal fan, so it's a game. I always, oddly enough, me and Chad growing up had Vigilante 8, and I always much preferred that to Twisted Metal.
I don't even know what that is.
It was basically just a Twisted Metal clone, is what I mean. That was it. But I did. I really tried to play it, and it just it was just not a. I don't know if it hasn't held up well or what, but I was like, that's fun for 10 minutes, and I was ready to move on. The problem was, you're in an arena with like 6 other enemies, and playing one round takes like an hour, like to kill all the other guys. It takes for freaking ever. And it turns into this endurance battle where I'm like, no, I'm going to play a couple levels of this, and I'm going to really give it a chance. And like an hour and a half later, I had completed one level, and I was like, I'm just done. I can't. I don't have time for this Twisted Metal 2. I'm sorry. I have other things to do.
Yeah.
Last thing for me is I did also get another CRT this week.
Why?
Well, I've got my office CRT, which is my big one. And I've got my attic CRT, which is my backup for, if something happens. And then I have my garage CRT, which is now set up, and I'm playing games on it as of Thanksgiving in the garage. But the garage CRT is the one that I bought that had the scratch on the front of it.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I'd like to get one that doesn't have a scratch. And then I found out my grandma is just getting rid of a CRT that has a DVD player and a VCR built in.
Nice.
Now, the problem with CRTs with DVD, VCR combos built in, or even just VCRs built in, is they almost always only just have composite input.
Okay.
But the problem with the garage TV is you can't change inputs without a remote. So it has component and S-video and stuff, but to use them, I have to go get one of our universal remotes, program it for that TV, and keep it out in the garage. Plus, it's got a big old scratch on the screen anyway. So I think I'm just going to resign myself to the fate of having composite only in my garage CRT, which I know is horrible. It's
it's terrible.
Such a terrible problem for someone to have, But I think I'm just going to have to be okay with composite only in my garage CRT for now. But we'll see. But it's I want to say it's a Sanyo, and the one I'm replacing is a Sylvania. So neither one of them are very good brands of television to begin with.
Is it Sanyo or Sanyo?
I always said Sanyo.
Yeah, I always said Sanyo.
But I also grew up in Texas, so
I don't know. Did you ever play Jet Moto on PS1?
No, but I have it on my RetroPie, and I almost played it the other day.
I owned, I loved Jet Moto games. I owned all 3 of them on the PS1. My brother has them somewhere. Mm-hmm. But those were pretty great games. They kind of did the whole, getting ridiculous by the 3rd game, where, all of the, basically the jet skis.
Where you were just dragons. Everyone was a dragon.
Everyone's
on a jet
just
ski.
Dragons. You're all naked. No, all the jet skis are crazy with spikes coming out of them, and everybody looks.
Are you implying that dragons normally have clothes on?
Yes, Justin. What do you think their scales are?
Pardon me.
Their skin? Silly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
No, I did never check any of those out. It's again one of those things that's on my ever-growing list of shit that I'll never get around to.
It's a good list.
Yeah, it's getting huge.
You should probably cut that in half.
You think so? Just
make a new list. Make a new list of things that will never happen for sure, ever.
Right. So we can already go ahead and put every Madden on there.
Okay.
NCAA, pretty much any sports game basically could go on that list. Well, not any 3D sports game.
What about?
I do have a special love for 2D sports games.
What about BMX XXX?
You don't want to play that?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's a sports game. Is that not on your list?
Yeah. No, I guess so. That would not be on the we'll never play it list. Right. I do kind of want to play that. That's kind of something I want to experience at least once.
I've never played it.
It's by all accounts it's horrible, but I really want to check it out. just to have, it's just one of those things when it came out, it was such a big deal, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they did it. But I don't know. What
you did miss something this week. You scored a touchdown in Tecmo Bowl.
I did. I'm learning to play Tecmo Bowl. It's not easy, but I'm figuring it out slowly but surely.
Closest I have gotten was I got to the 10-yard line, and I threw a pass, and it got intercepted, and they touchdown. They scored.
It's
my life.
I scored 2 touchdowns in that game.
Ooh,
yeah. You got to read the manual.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, I used to beat that game all the time, or I would win all the time. And now, like, I got the classic and I plugged it in and I was like, oh man, I remember this game. And then I just got like my ass handed to me over and over and over again, to the point to where Emily's like, why are you playing this? You need to stop now. And
were you like getting mad?
Yeah, I was like, what is happening? Like, it was bad.
No, I've never played it before myself, so I got the manual and I was kind of checking it out, and it's a pretty fun little football game.
If you don't, if you score every once in a while.
We just read the manual, man.
I can't read, Justin.
What did you have this week?
I mean, this week, not to for those that listen to Classic Corner, not to reiterate, but I've still been playing Mega Man. I finally beat all the robots.
You finally defeated Heat Man. Because everyone goes on about Quick Man. Heat Man's stage is the hard one for me because of those stupid blocks, and I just have to wait till I get the jet power up and jet over them.
Well, everybody else is pretty easy to beat except for Quick Man and Heat Man. Mm-hmm. I beat every other robot without the power-ups because I'm an idiot.
Why? What? Why?
I don't know. I just, I don't ever switch beforehand. There was one that I switched. It's the one that's...
Because if you kill them with the right weapon, they die in, seriously, a few seconds.
I know, but I just...
Why?
I know.
Is it a stubborn thing, or are you like, no, I want to do it with just the Mega
Most
Buster?
of the time, I just forget about it.
Oh my God.
And I don't switch. But yeah, I finally beat Heat Man. Figured out he and Quick Man, not Quick Man actually. Heat Man I beat with the Bobble.
Mm-hmm.
Bobble power.
Right.
And then Quick Man I beat with someone else. I don't remember.
There you go. I think Quick Man is Crash Bombs.
Yeah, that's who I beat it with. Because Quick Man's real one is the freeze power, which you've already exhausted by going through that level.
Through this, I didn't know that was his real weakness.
Apparently, you use it. Well, apparently you use it once and it drops his health to half. But of course, when you use it, it goes until it's empty.
Right.
So you basically drop his health to half, and then you have to take him out the rest of the way.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. I always just did Crash Bombs. I didn't even.
I haven't tested. I actually looked it up online.
I'm not like a Mega Man 2 master by any means, but the only two things I know is you get the metal blade first and use it the whole game, and wait till you got the jet power up to do Heat Man, so you can skip the blocks.
Yeah. But then
those are my two Mega Man 2 tips.
I got to the Wily area and got to a point that I couldn't get past, so I just saved it and quit.
Okay.
Which was the area that I've actually seen you beat once. I just forgot how you did it, and it's the part where you climb up the ladder, and then the other ladder is way in the top left-hand corner, and there's no way to get up there. You have to use your other ability thingies.
Yeah, you got to use how do you do it? I forgot.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But I think
you have to switch them. I think you have to do the floating platform and then switch to the jet, maybe?
Maybe, because I did the floating platform to a point, and then I went too high and couldn't switch to the jet, and then I just kept falling. Anyway, so I'm slowly but surely trying to beat Mega Man 2.
Oh, you know what it is? You know how I'm 90% sure this is how I do it anyway, is you do the jet and you jump, and right before you're at the height of your jump, you do the jet then, and then it's just below your highest jump point, and you jump on the jet and right over and then jump again.
But the jet always shows up in front of you, not under you.
I don't know then.
Okay.
Totally forgotten. I'll have to play through it again and see.
Anyway, so I've been playing that. I, of course, played some terrible, terrible Ice Climbers.
God, I that was another one of those games on the Classic I'd never actually put any time to, and it's not...
Which you're releasing
probably was great in 85.
You're releasing that this Saturday, so I won't be ruining anything for that. But
right,
yeah, Ice Climbers was pretty not fun to play. I mean, I got through 8 or 9 of the levels and just was it's the same thing, and there's no the controls are so frustrating that there's no charm to it.
Right.
Where I would assume if because I'm doing Bubble right now, and Bubble Bobble's kind of the same thing where it's just The levels change, unlike Ice
Right.
Climbers, where like the levels change a little bit, but not really a lot.
Yeah, I
And
mean, they're basically both arcade games.
Right.
You know, it's that arcade design mentality, which is, okay, here's your tool set, and here's a bunch of different levels to figure out with that one tool set.
The only difference is with Bobble, the creatures are different. Like there's enough different creatures that move differently, that look cooler. The controls are just really solid, so you can focus on the on just the charm, basically the charm of the game. It's a very charming game because there's nothing in it that frustrates you. If you die in the game, it's because you messed up, not because the game is frustrating.
Right.
So it's a really just solid game. And at first I started playing it and was like, oh, this is a game you can play.
It grows on you. It's
Right.
it's one of those games, and we talked about it in last week's episode. It's one of the games that my grandma had at her house. When we went to my grandma's house, we'd play Bobble. And I do remember being real little and playing it and being like, this is boring, put in Metal Gear. But as I got older, it does grow on you. Because at first, it almost feels so plain. Like there's no backgrounds, there's nothing really going on, there's not a lot going on with the music.
It's the same song every level.
Right, but it's something about... Because it's also a great design where Ice Climber didn't touch on this note, and I think this is where the difference is, at least for me, is that Bobble is also, in addition to like an arcade action game, it's also a puzzle game. Because a lot of the levels, the first time you see them, you're like, how in the hell am I supposed to do that?
There's a couple, that I saw. Because I ended up... The other thing is that I originally started playing it single player, which is just not a great...
Not the way to experience it.
It's not super fun to play single player. Like, you can do it if you want to maybe make a challenge for yourself, but I was playing it with Emily, just 2-player, and it was a lot better. Especially, like, there are some levels where if you're both sitting there shooting bubbles, and, like, there's one level where everybody's, like, all the monsters start off in the center and they just funnel down. And so if you just sit there and, like, spam bubbles, you get them all, like, in 2 seconds.
Right.
Which, if you were playing single player, you'd be boned, but...
Right, basically.
Right. So
what second player controller were you using for your classic? Just a classic controller? Or did you get a...
No, I haven't gotten another. I've been kind of looking for one, but just like everyone else, they don't exist anymore.
Right.
They've all been melted down.
Hell, I'm honestly shocked that all three of us, you, me, and Saturn, all got... NES Classic Editions to begin with.
Like, I thought it was going to be rare. I didn't know it was going to be as rare as it actually was. Because every person I've talked to has been like, oh my God, you got one? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, how? And I'm just like, I just sat there in Walmart for 30 minutes.
It's become one of those things, and we talked about it on the show, where we were like, yeah, this definitely seems like that kind of artificial scarcity that Nintendo does with launches and whatever. But now it's been several weeks, and it's to the point that it's like, okay, seriously, you guys, seriously release some more. Like, the only stores that I know of that have gotten any restocks at all since the original launch are Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart online has gotten restocks. To my knowledge, no other store in the U.S., online or physical retail, has gotten any restocks at all.
Maybe everyone working in the factories to build them are just taking them home.
Maybe it's just one guy.
Yeah, it's Miyamoto.
Yeah, he's like, oh, damn it, this is taking forever.
Other than that, I have been playing a lot of Zelda, which was really frustrating at first to play because I tried to do it without a guide.
Yeah, you can't do that. Well, no, let me rephrase. If you play it the same way that we played games when we were 9, then it's fine, which is you don't care if you have any objectives or not, you just want to walk around and do stuff, then it's not frustrating at all. But if you want to play it as an adult where you're like, all right, I want to get through this game, then without a guide and not knowing where to go, it'll frustrate the hell out of you.
Well, like, because I started playing it and I was like, I just want to try to get a feel for it so I can review it for Classic Corner.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, I'll just walk around a bit, and it was just like, oh, I just died 48 times.
Yep.
Maybe I should look at a guide. And then after you collect all the beginning stuff, so after you get the sword upgrade and you get a couple of the get a bunch of money, get a couple hearts, get the ring and everything, the game's basically a cakewalk at that point.
Oh yeah,
because I just waltzed
it
right
definitely
through
gets much easier.
the first two bosses.
Oh, Andrew, I think I'm losing you on the Skype call.
No.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
This is gonna be. I feel like every week there's some editing mishap that happens, and it's never fun. Anyway,
Zelda was fun. You can listen to the thing that I do, but yeah.
which will be I think 2 weeks after this episode airs. I don't know. The timeline's always weird on things.
Right. So if you want to hear what I really think about The Legend of Zelda and all that jazz, you can be on the Patreon.
But with that, we are going to go ahead and wrap because I need to go hurl. Hopefully things will be a little bit more back to normal next week. I do want to thank everybody on our Patreon because we did finally reach our first milestone. So the show is officially free for us to do. It's going to cover minor equipment costs, hosting fees, everything of that nature, though. So thank you so much to everyone who's donated money on our Patreon and continues to do so. We did also get a new video subscriber, and this is off the top of my head because I'm not sure I remember. I want to say his name was Rob Powers, I think, which sounds like a really cool Bond villain. So thank you very, very much to him. If you haven't been to our Patreon, please go check it out, patreon.com/retrowarriors. You can also go to our website, retrowarriors.net, where we have all of our stuff and things there. I don't think we've done a YouTube video in a week or two, but I'm planning something in the near future. Additionally, this was the week we were going to be recording at Saturn's with his newly set up game room, but obviously that some things happened. So maybe we'll be there next week checking out his collection, which will be super fun. So anyway, Andrew, thank you for being on. And again,
You're
you
welcome.
can go listen to Andrew on Classic Corner, which is available to Patreon subscribers of any level, and listen to him complain loudly about Ice Climber.
That is a thing you can do.
Anyway, we'll be back next week with some. I think we're going to be doing the Engage next week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know there's so many Engage fans out there, and everyone's just dying to to do that.
Right.
Anyway, as always, thank you for listening, and let us cling together.
Let us cling together.